a lot of young men are sometimes growing up in unstable situations. Some of them are being put out as early as 18 or 16, and unfortunately a lot of them are not really focused or prioritizing on the things that they need in order to kind of put themselves. They don't have enough room for them to self-discover the things that they like and that they enjoy and that they're passionate about.
High standards. What are you saying? What are you saying that women have as high standards?
Well, to the point where they don't believe in one pot. They don't believe it's my money. You're not getting my money. A woman will sit there and say about, why are you bragging about your money yet I have no access to this money? Then why are you bragging about what you bring to the table as far as income? You know that income's not for us. It's for you. It's for you as an individual. Now, if you're going to bring it to the table and I have access just like you have access to my money, then talk about it. Then brag about it. But if you're not, you just wasting your goddamn breath.
So you prefer like having a joint account where like all the bills are paid collectively, and then is it okay for her to have like her separate mad money?
No, there's
everything
no separate.
all in one.
That you damn right. Our money's together in one pot. If it's one income like we really talk about, then it's one income. Don't talk about my money, your money. No, it's our money. We're gonna bring our money together. If I'm gonna bless you with my last name, we're together in everything. You're gonna give me your body, but you afraid to give me your money? That makes no sense to me.
So you can have some of it, but you should never give somebody everything that you have.
That's bullshit, Joy.
I don't care.
That's bullshit, Joy.
Well, Pink, you can agree to disagree.
You'll never get a man like me talking like that, Joy.
You can disagree after I finish. And my man is completely aware of what I'm saying, and I'm going to say it anyway.
And I disagree.
You will, okay, King, I understand. So we will have our separate funds, and we will have our joint account, and we will have the majority of the money go to the joint account, and we will have side money that I don't have to ask him to use, and he's not going to ask me about, and he's fine with it, and I'm fine with it, and it works for us. And I don't think we should shame people out of that and say, if you don't give 100% of your money and he gives 100% of his money, because he's going to have his own separate money too. If he gives 100% of his money into the family pot, then that's not real love. Yes, it is. We just have our own stipulations on it, and that's fine with us.
People just need to stop watching.
That's the selfish mind. And again, that's the selfish mindset I'm talking about. So what benefit other than that is for a man to be married other than business? None.
How is it selfish if you're sharing? I want to know.
Yeah, people just need to stop watching other people's pockets and show
it selfish.
Like it just seems like it's opportunistic to even be trying to, like, whether or not I'm going to bring my salary to this relationship shouldn't be a concern of yours. What we should be focused on is what we're doing for each other. Like what your requirements are, what your standards are, what your boundaries are, what your values are, what your principles are, and how we align there. Everything else is going to fall into place. Because if y'all are focused on all this monetary, worldly crap, it's not going to be a relationship. It's definitely going to be a sinking ship for facts.
The lies we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better. The lies we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better. These are lies. Let me say this. You sit there talking about money's not important, then leave your ass in the hood somewhere and talk about money's not important to you.
Money wasn't important.
You just sit there and say that. No, you sit there.
I kind of want to respond back to.
Okay, I got you. Not priority. I got you.
I want to respond back to Lee Movet. She had asked, is the standard or the bar too high for men? And I think that it's a little bit deeper than just the bar being too high. Unfortunately, what tends to happen and plays out in the world is that a lot of young men are sometimes growing up in unstable situations. Some of them are being put out as early as 18 or 16, and unfortunately a lot of them are not really focused or prioritizing on the things that they need in order to kind of put themselves. They don't have enough room for them to self-discover the things that they like and that they enjoy and that they're passionate about, for them to invest themselves into it. I think that we're trying to, turn young boys into full-fledged men, like if they were 38. The transition is going from 18 to 38 overnight without any room or runway for self-development, self-discovery, and self-growth. There's none of that. And sort of a lot of young men trying to grow up quickly without understanding who they are and going through those trials and tribulations to kind of figure out, how am I going to come together with somebody else? How am I going to build myself, and what are the things that I invested in that I'm passionate about, my purpose, right? There's none of that. We're trying to raise young boys into men too quickly without that runway of space. And sort of those same young men, unfortunately, get into relationship, and there's an expectation because they're half cooked. They're not where they need to be there yet. And sort of they're not having, these conversations with the people that they're in, because they're trying to, um, give off the impression that they have it figured out or that they have it good. Kind of hence going back to the title from earlier. A lot of people are not where they need to be because they're such in a rush to try to put things together. And a lot of young people need to find each other early to have those conversations and build and work with each other, as opposed to, waiting until later in life to figure that out. And a lot of men, unfortunately, and I see this in dudes that I've been around with, figuring it out way too late, and then they're trying to rush into things, right? Because the things that they should have been doing in the very beginning, they're doing later in life. So if you don't work early, you're gonna end up working late.
So the
I
money
think
talk doesn't come up until we're closer to marriage. So once we start talking about, okay, we want to be married, that's when we've already decided that we have all the things we're looking for in a marriage. Now we need to us we need to make sure that we confront these things that cause divorces. So let's look into the finances. How do you want to handle the finances? Let's look into blah blah blah. But before now, we weren't talking about what we were going to do when we were married with our finances because we weren't on this level. So we came up with the decision of, you have your own separate, I have my own separate, and we have a joint account together after we decided already that we loved each other for our personalities, our characteristics, our abilities that we're bringing to the relationship. We've already decided that we love each other for those things and we would love to be together. But do you want to have kids? He has a vasectomy right now. He's trying to decide if he wants to have kids with me. These are decisions that we have to make before we get married. And we're not going to have these conversations early on because it's not as serious. But as those conversations come up, we need to be able to communicate it effectively and decide if we're going to work together on this. And so far, so good.
And
So
that right
you
there
talk about
lies.
having kids, but you don't talk about finances before then.
What'd you
Yeah,
say?
You talk about having kids, but you don't talk about finances.
We're talking about all of that now. That's what I'm saying. Now that we're deciding if we're going to get married, we're talking about if he's going to have kids after we're married. He's talking about how we're going to handle finances after we're married. We're talking about where we're going to be living, how we're going to get stationed in the same place after we're married. All these things we were not talking about before we were married. We're just making things work around it. Now that we're trying to get married, we're trying to iron out these things before we get married. And it's like, we went into this without having I'm somebody that needs clear guidance. I am. It just is what it is. So I need to know what it is before we get into it.